bank. The night before you die, what are you gonna buy? Will you buy a house, plant a garden inside the night before you die? Everything's right. I got a rose inside, it's brilliant and bright.
This is what they mean when they call it handmade. I'm sure there's a tool out there, a computer tool that does this job, but this is the way I do it.
It's an instrument. It's not just a guitar. It's not something made in a factory, ripped apart by machines and glued together under high tension and press. I mean, he hand files, hand works, and just finishes the guitar into itself.
If you look around the store, Rick is an artist, and he uses this medium to produce his art.
The sound of the stuff he makes, and I've talked to Patti Smith and Lenny and people that have his guitars, G.E. Smith, and everybody's like, this is some magical thing about the tone, the wood,
You know, you kind of walk into this shop and it's I feel like it's one of the last kind of shops like it out there in New York, period. You know, I mean, you walk down the street one week, and the next week it's all gone, and it's like a Starbucks or like a Chipotle or whatever the hell is, you know, the flavor of the week is. And so you come in here, it's just this really, it's like going back in time.
In my case, I do a lot of reproduction guitars of like Fender Stratocaster designs that Leo Fender designed back in the late 40s. I use the old method, which is what Leo Fender originally used, which was just a screwed-on template. And then you follow a pin on what's called a big pin router.
It's a very happy place. People come into the shop because of the music, because of the instruments, and the freedom to sit and play and enjoy. It's a gathering place as well as it is a shop.
Sleeping in the yard.
It's great to have her around. You know, I lost my dad about 10 years ago, and that was really hard, you know, when you lose a parent. You just want to see him as much as you can, so having her working here is a real pleasure, having her here.
He has a real connection with wood. Even over here, you'll see a stack of old wood, the bones of New York. They come out of, you know, roof rafters, floor joists.
The reclaimed lumber thing is something that I started actually in the very beginning from college days of going to the state parks to find the wood. But the New York City wood thing was a kind of a result of that, finding how can I get some wood pretty cheap, you know, because wood got really expensive. I knew that the earliest Telecasters were made of pine, so pine's a good wood. It's a good musical instrument wood. So I figured I'd give it a whirl, and it just worked out so well. It just sounded amazing in first try. You're dealing with wood that's from 200-year-old old-growth timber. Trees were cut down 150 years ago. They've been indoors ever since. The wood is more resonant than any other wood I've ever worked with.
A really clear voice, and you can hear all of the notes in complex chords. Look, they all ring out almost like a piano. I mean, you know, it's a guitar,
But it just sounds so good and works so well. Wood is wood, you know. It's when you get that old growth timber, it just rings. It just sings, this wood. So it just was kind of a success story right from the day one. First guitars I made were just like, whoa.
Now, what I was trying to illustrate there was the spank quality. You can hear that the notes. That's the front end attack. It's really responsive. It just, this neck just, the sound just explodes out of it. You can hear that real punch. You just don't get that in most guitars.
But then I started trying to use that same wood in the necks, and no one really had done that before, and that just changed everything. It really added so much, because more than 50% of the guitar sound comes from the neck. A lot of guitar players who are really good players, and some famous, some not, can hear that difference. You know, a musician can hear that, and so the orders kept coming in.
And I also love about Rick the contradiction of being super precise and about symmetry and weight and all this, but also he loves things that throw off perfection. So he likes the imperfections in the wood.
They got nail holes, they got big knots, they got gouges in them,
I kind of worried about the knots in the beginning and the cracks in the wood, and was one of the concerns that maybe people wouldn't accept it because of those. But, this is here and there's not any other way of avoiding it, so I incorporated them. And all of a sudden, people just loved the way it looked, and they called it character. Who was to know that they would love this, When you make a guitar by hand, you want it to be feel like an old guitar. You don't want it to feel like something plastic and new, like a new car. By leaving it a little rough and a little thin finished, it helps the sound, makes it feel better, and makes it feel like a guitar that you've already been playing for 20 years. The ones I made for Bob Dylan were a similar idea. He used to hang out at Chumley's, which is an old speakeasy over on Bedford Street, and he wanted his guitars to definitely be Chumley's. The last one I made him, which was a Telly, had the Chelsea Hotel neck wood with the Chumley's body, so they called them Chelsea Chumleys. He loves the story of where the wood came from and the fact that he used to hang out at Chumley's and wondered, and he asked Yick one day if maybe some of the beer he spilt on the floor could be part of his guitar. And I said, sure, why not? I'm just hooked on old trees. I think they really have a presence. I ride through an old oak forest on a river road, and it's right on the other side of the George Washington Bridge, and some of the trees are 10 feet in diameter, and nobody really knows about this place, but it's a special place. Yeah. I guess it's just the trees sort of speak to you. Yeah, it's just a real special place. It's very, you're really alone there, you're just alone in the woods.
Money in the bank, the night before you die, what are you gonna buy?
This is a gift. This is something that is very precious to you as an individual. And if craft in every form dies and everything becomes a machine, there isn't an expression of yourself and your ability and your gift. It's very important to do things by hand.
I gotta clear my mind tomorrow night.
You don't do this for that reason, to make a lot of money. You do it because of the joy of working for yourself. It's the most serious thing in my life is working with wood and building guitars from this old wood. So yeah, I mean it's hard to even talk about, because it is so personal. But it's my life. Yeah, I love working with wood.